Hey guys, if you're still on the fence on whether the Nokia 5.3 is the right phone for you, you're definitely watching the right video. This isn't my full review of the device. You can actually check that out on my channel, and I'm going to be posting the link down below as well as on the card that pops up above. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the things that I liked about this device, the issues that have popped up on 3 months of usage, as well as the things that I grew to appreciate. Oh, and if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, now would be a really good time to do so. Unless, of course, you want me to send my highly trained squad of assassins. Are you sure you want to do that? Anyways, let's get straight into it. So since the release of the 5.3, it received one major update that fixes a lot of the issues. And one of the biggest improvements I noticed are actually in the camera app, which received a new version. So the biggest improvement I've noticed in the camera is in terms of the performance of the camera app, which was one of my complaints on this device initially. So now the phone is much quicker to take pictures, and it's also much quicker to scroll through the camera app. In terms of picture quality, the biggest improvement is actually in the sharpness of the pictures taken. So they're a bit more sharp now, which is really good. As well as the updated camera app, I've also noticed general stability improvements about using this phone since the update. So in terms of scrolling, the phone feels a bit faster, a bit smoother, and when you're trying to open applications, you can also feel a slight difference. I'm really glad this is the case, as optimization was one of the issues I complained about when it comes to the software, and it seems to be fixed now. I also really like the fact that it has continued to receive security updates, as well as the fact that it received this big update to squash bugs. So this is a good advantage that this phone has over a lot of its different competitors. Now let's talk about the issues that I've faced after using this phone for a long period of time. The first issue is on the display itself. So I noticed that the display gets scratched quite easily. It started developing all these new micro scratches all around the display. So if you're planning on buying this phone, I would highly recommend using a screen protector. I think it's a must-have on this phone. The other issue I've noticed is in the autofocus in the camera app. So it wasn't great at launch, but it was okay. But when you start using the phone very extensively, it might start getting annoying. So make sure you're always trying to get the best autofocus before taking pictures. Otherwise, you'll end up with pictures that are slightly out of focus. By the way, this issue is completely exaggerated in low light situations, where the camera really struggles to find the right focus. So yeah, I would say this is probably the biggest weakness of using this phone's main shooter, which is otherwise quite competent. Now let's talk about some important notes that I think I should share with you guys. I know a lot of you have had concerns about the display, since it's 720p compared to Full HD that you might be used to. And in my opinion, I don't have any complaints about this display's resolution. It's actually quite a nice display. It has good color reproduction, and the brightness is quite decent. It's just a good 720p panel, which I'm happy with. Having said that, I would still highly recommend checking it out in store if you can, to make a judgment, as I don't really have the best eyes. And as I've said before, this lower resolution display kind of helps when it comes to the battery experience, as well as the overall gaming experience. The build quality on this phone has been absolutely fantastic, which I'm happy to report. So there are no creaks that have popped up, and the phone still feels as solid as it was the day I unpacked it. The backplate specifically is something that I grew to appreciate, as it doesn't hold on to fingerprints like glossy surfaces. Honestly, I think these matte finishes are just a lot more practical than glossy finishes, even if glossy looks a bit more blingish. If you're like me and you're using a phone with a glossy back, you're just gonna keep wiping it all day long, which doesn't happen with this phone. It's also a lot more scratch resistant. So I've noticed that I have absolutely no scratches on the backplate, which is great. And battery life has been consistently good throughout my experience over the past almost 4 months of usage. I easily managed to get 1.5 days of usage on this thing. And if you're not very heavy on your gaming, you might even be able to get about 2 days of usage. My only complaint is that the charging speed isn't very fast. But then again, that does help with the longevity of the battery. And since the phone lasts about 1.5 days of usage, you usually end up charging it at night. The last important note is that I think you should absolutely install GCAM for the camera on this thing. And I'm gonna put a link for that in the description down below. It just transforms the imaging experience and puts it in a higher class than it actually is. And over this prolonged period of time, I've used the other cameras a lot less than I was hoping I would. So I almost haven't used the macro cam since about 2 months ago. And the wide angle is okay, but I'm just not happy with how it turns out in low light or not perfect situations. The depth sensor I found to be quite useful, and I make full use out of the portrait mode on this device. So yeah, that's pretty much all my notes regarding using the 5.3 over the past 4 months. I know you guys probably want to see a comparison between the 5.3 and the 3.4, and I'm gonna do my best to get that out as soon as possible. So stay tuned. Anyways, this is the follow-up to the review. I kind of wanted to keep it nice, short and sweet, and I hope it was beneficial for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I'm really doing my best to turn this thing into a full-time thing, so all your support is greatly appreciated. I've honestly been very overwhelmed and humbled by all the support you guys have been giving me. So thank you so much. Love you all. See you in the next video.